Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually we're digging into, a stack of articles about some breaking news story or maybe a dense scientific paper. But today we are doing something a little different. We're looking at a blueprint.
And not a metaphorical one. We're talking about the actual structural diagrams of how the modern working world, well, works.
We are looking at the source material for the OMG Certified Expert in BPM2 Fundamentals exam, specifically the FUN100 version. Now, I can practically hear you reaching for this skip button. A certification exam, really.
I mean, it sounds like the driest possible topic.
It sounds like a bowl of acronym soup.
It definitely does on the surface. But here's the hook. Whether you're prepping for a big meeting, trying to figure out why your project is completely stuck, or you're just, curious about the invisible machinery of corporate life, this stuff is fascinating. It's kind of the grammar of business.
That's the why for today. If you learn the grammar, you can speak the language. And if you speak the language, you can actually start to, get things done. We aren't here to help you pass a test, though, frankly, if you listen closely, you'll probably be able to answer a bunch of these questions by the end.
Right. The mission isn't the certificate. The mission is understanding the tools that organizations use to define their future. We're talking about the business motivation model, the why, and BPMN, which is business process model, and notation, the how.
And just to scope this out for everyone, the breakdown of this exam is pretty telling. Business process modeling concepts, that's like a quarter of the whole thing, 24%.
Yeah.
Then you have the business motivation model at 16%, and the actual skills at another 16%.
And don't forget process quality, governance, and metrics. That's another 15%. That's the whole section on did we actually do the thing we said we were going to do?
Exactly. It covers the full arc from this high-level dream all the way down to the nitty-gritty of measuring if it worked. So let's start at the top. The why. In the source material, this all falls under the business motivation model, or BMM.
Yeah, the BMM is interesting because it forces businesses, which are usually, let's be honest, chaotic things, to be incredibly precise about what they're trying to do.
Okay, so one of the first things that jumped out at me in the practice questions was this idea of an organization's future self. There was a question asking about the element that describes what an organization wants to be. Not what it's doing now, but the aspirational target.
This is a classic stumbling block. People mix up mission, strategy, and vision all the time. But in the BMM, the strict answer to what an organization wants to be is the vision.
Okay, so break that down for me, because I feel like I see mission and vision statements on corporate lobby walls, and they usually sound exactly the same.
They often do, yeah, and that's the problem. But functionally, they're almost opposites. The vision is the desired future state. It's a destination. If you think of the company as a ship, the vision is the island you're trying to reach.
The North Star.
Exactly, the North Star. It provides alignment. If you don't have it, you can be rowing incredibly hard, but you might just be rowing in circles.
So if the vision is the island, is the mission the rowing?
The mission is more like the ship itself and what it does every day. A mission statement would say, we transport goods across the ocean safely. That's what we do now. The vision says, we will be the world's primary logistics provider. That's the future.
That distinction is actually really helpful. Mission is operational, vision is aspirational.
You got it. And without that North Star, all the efficiency in the world is kind of pointless. You're just optimizing a journey to nowhere.
Which is a perfect segue to part two, the journey. Once you have the vision, you need a map. You need to figure out how the work actually moves. And this is where we get into the real heavy hitter of this exam, BPMN 2.0.
Business process model and notation.
And I've seen these. They're flowcharts, right? Boxes, arrows, diamonds, usually looking like a total mess.
That's usually because they're drawn poorly. But yes, it's the global standard for drawing business processes. What's critical here, and what the source material points out, is that BPMN isn't just one language. It has different dialects, sort of, depending on who you're talking to.
Right, I saw that. Question 10 in our stack. It asked about a modeling level designed specifically for business managers.
This is such a key idea. The question is getting at how you document process logic at a high conceptual level.
Yeah.
If you're talking to a VP, you do not want to show them the XML code.
Well, their eyes will glaze over immediately.
Instantly. So the answer to that question, the level for managers, is descriptive modeling.
Descriptive. Okay, it does what it says on the tin.
It describes the flow. First we take the order, then we check inventory, then we ship. It's the translator layer. It lets the business people agree on the what, without getting bogged down in the technical how.
So it basically ignores all the software implementation details to just focus on the business rules.
Precisely. It's all about clarity. If you can't explain your process in a descriptive model, you probably don't understand the process yourself.
Okay, so let's talk about the players in this game. Question 9 asks about how we visualize different entities. If I'm drawing a map of a process that involves my company and, I don't know, an outside vendor, how do I visually separate those two worlds?
In BPMN, you use something called a pool.
A pool. Like a swim lane in a swimming pool.
Well, a pool contains the swim lanes, but the pool itself is the bigger container. It represents the whole organizational boundary, a distinct participant.
So if my company is Amazon and I'm shipping something to customer, those are two different pools.
Yes. And that's really important because you can't control what happens inside the other person's pool. You can only send a message to it.
Huh. That's a deep point. The pool defines your sphere of control. I can control my warehouse process, but I can't control the customer's living room.
Exactly. I can just throw a package across the void and hope they catch it. The space between the pools is where the message flows happen. And honestly, that's where most business processes break down, the handoff.
Right, when the baton hits the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our pools, we have our descriptive model, but eventually, inside your own pool, you hit a fork in the road. You have to make a choice.
That's like decision points. The little diamonds in the flowchart.
Right. Question 2 asks about a gateway used to model a decision where exactly one outgoing path must be chosen.
That would be the exclusive gateway.
Sounds like a fancy nightclub. The exclusive gateway.
It kind of acts like a bouncer. It says you can go left or you can go right, but you absolutely cannot go both ways.
Yeah.
It's based on data. Is the payment approved? Yes or no? That has to be binary.
Why is that so important? Why can't you just draw a diamond that says decide what to do?
Because computers, and frankly, strict processes, can't handle ambiguity. If you don't use an exclusive gateway, you might accidentally create a process that tries to ship an item and cancel the order at the same time. The gateway enforces a clear choice.
It forces the business to actually define the rule. You can't just say maybe.
Right. It exposes all the holes in your logic. If you can't program the gateway, it means your policy is too vague.
Okay, moving on to part 3. We've set the vision. We've drawn the map with pools and gateways. Now, how do we know if any of this is actually working?
Measurement. This is about 15% of the exam quality, governance, and metrics.
And this goes way beyond just checking the bank account, right? Question 3 brings up the balanced scorecard. I hear this buzzword all the time. The question asks about a perspective that evaluates the effectiveness of internal procedures.
Yeah, the balanced scorecard was revolutionary because it said financial numbers are lagging indicators. By the time you see the problem in the profit and loss statement, it's already too late. You need leading indicators.
So what's the answer for that question?
The answer is the internal business process perspective.
Wow, that is a mouthful.
It is, but it's the engine room. It asks the question. To satisfy our customers and shareholders, what business processes must we absolutely excel at?
So instead of just saying, we need to make more money, this perspective says we need to process customer returns in under 24 hours.
Correct. The logic is, an efficient internal process leads to a happy customer. A happy customer leads to more profit. If you ignore the internal business process perspective, you're just kind of hoping for profit without building the machine that actually generates it.
But let's say you look at that machine and realize it's broken. You're terrible at returns.
Yeah.
How do you fix it? The source material brings up Six Sigma.
Six Sigma, the big methodology for process improvement. The exam specifically asks about the DMAIC cycle.
DMAIC. DMAIC.
Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And question 5 asks, which phase focuses on identifying the project goals and the specific business problem you need to solve?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's the first one.
It is indeed the define phase.
That feels almost too obvious. Define the problem before you solve it. Why is this even a question?
Because in the real world, it is the one step that everybody skips. We are wired to jump straight to improve. We see a symptom sales are down, and we immediately say, let's launch a new marketing campaign, or let's fire somebody.
We apply a solution before we've even diagnosed the patient.
Exactly. The define phase forces you to stop and ask, is the problem really that sales are down, or is the problem that our product quality has tanked, and that's why sales are down? If you skip define, you can waste millions solving the wrong problem.
It's the measure twice, cut once of corporate strategy.
It really is, and it establishes the scope. What are we not fixing? That can be just as important.
Okay, so we've defined it, we've fixed it. Now, how do we make sure it stays fixed? Question 7 brings up the BPM lifecycle.
Ah, yes. This is the process monitoring and control phase.
And a source material says this is where actual performance is tracked against targets.
This is the feedback loop. You can't just launch a new process and walk away. You have to install some sensors. Are we hitting the targets we set? This phase spots the deviations. If that ship we talked about starts drifting away from the vision, this is the alarm that goes off.
It feels like all of these concepts, BMM, BPMN, Six Sigma, they're all just trying to create predictability.
Predictability and visibility. You want to see the error before it becomes a catastrophe.
Which brings us to part 4, logistics, the rubber meeting the road. We have a few questions here on operations and project management. Let's talk efficiency. Question 6 asks about an operations concept to decrease waste by getting goods only when they are required.
This is the famous, or maybe infamous, depending on your view just-in-time or JIT approach.
I feel like JIT has taken a beating lately. Every time there's a supply chain snag, everyone blames just in time.
It has. The concept, as the source defines it, is all about minimizing inventory costs. If you're building cars, you don't want $1 million of tires sitting in a warehouse. You want the tires to arrive literally just as the car hits that spot on the assembly line.
It's fantastic for the balance sheet. No storage costs, less waste.
It's ruthlessly efficient. But, as we've all seen, it removes all the buffers. If the tire truck is late, the whole factory stops. It shows how interconnected these things are. The exam tests you on the definition of efficiency, but in the real world, you have to balance that with resilience.
Speaking of things that can cause the whole factory to stop, let's talk about the critical path. This was question 4.
Ah, the critical path. The source material defines this as the sequence of scheduled activities that determines the total duration of a project.
And the key phrase in that definition was no flexibility.
Zero float. In any project, like building a house, you can probably paint the walls anytime. That has float. You can do it Tuesday or Wednesday. But pouring the foundation. You cannot start framing the house until that foundation is poured. That task is on the critical path.
So if a task on the critical path gets delayed by 1 day,
the entire project is delayed by 1 day, period. There's no wiggle room. It is the longest path through all the tasks, but it represents the shortest possible time to complete the whole project.
That sounds like a paradox.
It does, but think about it. The project can't be done until the longest chain of necessary tasks is done.
If you're an employee, you really, really do not want to be the person responsible for a task on the critical path.
No, that is the hot seat. But for a manager, identifying the critical path is a superpower. It tells you what to ignore and what to obsess over. Don't micromanage the painting, micromanage the concrete delivery.
But who is the manager? That's the final complication in our stack here. Question 8 asks about an organizational structure where employees report to 2 bosses at the same time.
This would be the matrix structure.
The matrix. It sounds cool, but in practice it sounds like a nightmare.
It's the servant of 2 masters problem. In a matrix, you have a boss in, say, the marketing department who handles your pay and your training, but you're assigned to a project, so you also have a project manager telling you what to do every day.
The source material says this facilitates resource sharing.
And that's the pro. It's efficient because the company can move people to where the work is without totally restructuring the company for every new project.
But the con has to be
conflict. Who do you listen to? Your functional boss says, take this training course on Friday, but your project boss says, I need this report by Friday or we miss the launch.
It requires a lot of negotiation.
It requires high emotional intelligence and very clear business process models, to be honest. If the roles aren't defined, the matrix will eat you alive.
It all comes full circle.
It really does. Whether it's a matrix structure, an exclusive gateway, or a vision statement, these are all just tools to manage human complexity.
Well, on that note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive into the blueprint of business. Next time you're in a meeting and someone draws a box on a whiteboard, take a closer look. Ask yourself, is that a pool? Is this task on the critical path?
And see if they've done their homework. Or better yet, you can grab the marker and fix the exclusive gateway for them.
Now you're just showing off. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you the next deep dive.
Goodbye.